everyone, it's Roberta Eldridge again, and I was just going to try to play around with the ATC I was working on yesterday. This is one of the bubbles ATC I was going to work on, but just messing around yesterday I worked on this one. And just took some blue paint and painted around each of the bubbles. And then I dripped some of my poppy with the copper mica spray paint, some of the Diva pink with the copper mica, and also some of the purple, which is wild iris from Apple Barrel, and this one has copper as well. And I just let it drip down and then dried it, and it's paper towel with the brown paper and backed with white paper. And then I splotched some gold paint, my gold that I like to use, just randomly. I put some on my paper towel right here, just daubed it off in there, and then just put it around in different areas. And then I used some black paint and put it up here on the top, spritzed with water to get the drip, and just playing around, not sure what I was going to do. And then I mixed some colors of paint. This bright magenta, a little dollop of the metallic amethyst, and some of the gold, and put that paint all around the border. And it was probably a good half of a teaspoon, and so there's a big bunch of paint running all around the side. And then I took some more of the gold after that paint had dried and rubbed some of the gold around it. And this down here is really gritty because it has that leftover bit of the glass bead modeling paste that I had used for the bubbles, and I just scraped it on the end, so it's all this texture here. And at first I was going to do it in this direction, but I decided to change it up. Today I decided to do something a little different, and the theme is bubbles. And so I took the word bubbles and I covered it with gold on the edges, again this gold paint, and then used black Sharpie and just scribbled around on the edges so it would pop off. And I was just playing around in my stuff, and I found some gauze, and I was thinking, try to figure out how to do something with it, and I decided I would turn it this way because it would look like this would be like the silt down at the bottom of water. And then put some gauze down. I was going to color it with some spray or something, paint, not sure exactly what. I want to paint this with some gesso, and then when it dries I'm going to use this fish stamp, stamp it with some Indian corn blue ink from Close to My Heart, and then emboss it with white pearls. And my mom gave me this little Tupperware container, a Rubbermaid container, of a bunch of little beads and jewels and things. And I pulled out some of the pearls, and I thought that I would glue some of the pearls to the bubbles and then just see what I come up with. So I'm going to go ahead and color this probably with some of my green ink that has, not sure what this one has. I think it's also the copper, or it might be the gold. But I just want to color this with some of this. Let me just go ahead and do it real quick here. And it's okay it gets on the mat, because that's going to actually help me to be able to get the whole thing colored with the ink. Okay, I'm just going to mash around on it, try to spread that ink. And I'm going to pause go ahead and gesso this, stamp it, and then emboss it. And I have my Versamark here, so I'm going to emboss that, and then I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back after having embossed the fish, and as often goes when crafting, it did not turn out as crisp and clear as I had hoped. I don't think the embossing powder is as microfine as I like. This is a little bit thicker, so it embosses thicker instead of giving you the really fine crisp lines. I'm going to use a marker and probably like an old olive green or something and try to color in. This is actually Lucky Limeade. So I'm going to try coloring this in just a little bit just to see if it's going to help make it look more realistic. And one other color. If I can get it to come out. This one is Marina Mist. And I add a little bit of this in here too. There's just a few tiny little open places, not much. And I'm hoping it'll soak into the paper toweling. And just scribble it off, make sure I didn't get any of that green. I may just use my finger, kind of rub it in, mix and blend the colors. And any of the ink on the top. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out, fussy cut it, and just see. It doesn't really much look like it's going to be what I want, so I'll probably end up not using it, but I'll cut it out first and then decide. Okay, I'm back. It actually did not work out, and it didn't look very good at all, and it still doesn't look much better, but I just ended up writing over in some places, giving it some lines with a black Sharpie. And then I re-inked it in some Versamark, the pigment ink. And I just heated it when it was just embossed with the white pearls. And I heat it so that when I would set the stamp in it with that ink, it would go in, which it did. And so it looks better than it did a few minutes ago. And I'm going to figure out some way to kind of add this. This green does not go. The color is totally wrong for what I have going here, so I'm going to have to darken it up. And I'm going to add a little bit of this green, and I can get some off of this stamp actually. I'm all about trying to save things as much as possible. I'm going to use just a little bit of alcohol, spritz it down, and I just put the stuff in here, so I have to prime it because there's nothing in the thing yet. There we go. I'm using the alcohol because the alcohol will dry quicker. Okay, let me just stick this in here. Now that is darkening it up a little bit, but not as much as I was wanting it to. I have a cut in my finger, so that alcohol is kind of burning right now. So I'm going to need to add a little something else, make it a little bit darker. Let me get a different color of green. This one is marsh green. I don't need very much. Tiniest little bit. It's actually watered down, so it's coming down out of the container more than I was wanting it to. And then just kind of mash it up to get the ink mixed. Don't want it all saturated the same color throughout. And I'm going to wet it down a little bit more. When I craft, it's mostly just experimenting, because nothing turns out the way I plan on it, ever. And sometimes it's turned into some happy accidents, other times not. This still is not the shade I'm looking for, so I'm going to go ahead and add another color. And I'm going to go ahead and mop up this paint since I don't need this color. Normally I would put that in my excess paint book, but doing the videos, gotta hurry up. Don't have a lot of time before the battery ends up dying with my camera. Okay. It needs like a brownish kind of a color. This one is melted chocolate, which I haven't had lunch as of yet, so melted chocolate sounds pretty good. Alrighty. Again, it needs to be mixed with something to disperse the color so it's not concentrated in one spot. There we go, that's dulling it up. Much better. Try to get like a seaweed kind of a color. I don't know if you can see down here, I had to write not here, because I'm always doing everything down at the bottom. I have to remember to do it up higher. And I did it with the alcohol because alcohol hopefully make it dry a little faster than if I had used water. Now I'm going to use the heat tool again. And it's gauze, so it's really light. Just blow around everywhere. And you might want to have your windows open if you do something like this, because it is creating some fumes. Okay. I just want to open it up just a little bit because I don't want it all wadded when I put it on or twisted. Last time I used gauze for anything was when my beloved goat Snowball had broke her lower leg, her rear leg, and I had to cast it. It was a compound fracture. The bones were broken and protruding through her skin, and it had been that way for a couple of days. We had been really busy and sick, and so we hadn't been out there to spend time with the goats like we usually do every day. And I was just heartbroken, and somebody was saying, oh, you're going to have to put her down. Another person was like, why don't you just amputate her leg? And I was like, I'm not doing either one of those. I'm going to cast her leg. You know, I didn't have money for a vet or anything. And my oldest daughter, Nicole's into homeopathics, and so she had some stuff for pain and also what's called knit bone, which is some homeopathics that you can take that encourage bone growth. And so we gave the goat something for the shock and pain that she was obviously suffering with. And then I'm going to glue this down with some Tombow Mono, which this one just really does not work that well. Let me get the pen. But anyway, we gave her some homeopathics to treat her for what she was going through. And I just used pencils and some other stuff to splint the bones because I didn't have anything. You know, I'm not a vet. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but we learn to be resourceful when you're homesteading or on a farm or raising livestock. And so we just pretty much took care of it all by ourselves. And I had went to the Walmart to get a box of gauze and plaster of Paris, and I made casts for her over the next couple of weeks, or actually the next 6 weeks. I replaced her cast about 6 times. It was about once a week. There was 2 times that I did it twice a week actually, because the cast had got wet. Sometimes goats lay in wet places, and I wanted to make sure her cast was dry. But anyway, I was really worried about her. Wasn't sure how she was going to do, but she did really well. Her leg got completely healed up, and she was fine. She was able to put all her weight on her leg, and you never would have known that anything had happened to her. And I learned about myself that you can often do things that you don't think you have the skill or knowledge or ability to do. When times are tough and you have no other option, you look to yourself for your resources, and sometimes they're capable of getting things done that you might not have otherwise have done. Okay, so now I have this, I don't know, it's not seaweed per se, but this grassy stuff down, and I'm going to get some dimensional tape to pop up the fish. And I'm really sparing with dimensional tape, even though I have this massive roll. I try to make it go as far as I can. I don't think it needs pieces over every inch of it. Just want to make sure it's popped up. But and this fish is kind of thick because it's made out of all the papers that is, because I did this fish out of the excess paper that was cut off of one of these. I want to do a piece on each of the tails. Give the back end some support. My goat, Snowball, she ended up dying about 3 years ago, and was really sad. I never realized how delightful goats and other livestock can be, and they really are a lot of fun. We raised goats and chickens, pigs, and rabbits. We even had a couple of mini cows, and amazing fun life, living on a farm, living off grid, getting back to growing your own food, raising your own meat that you're going to eat. Something I didn't know about chickens was that, when a chicken lays an egg, she's actually gone basically into labor like a woman, and in pain, and pushing to get that egg out, just like a woman does when she's trying to get the baby out. And I have it on film, a chicken laying an egg. But I think it's on a terabyte drive of mine that's put away. It was really interesting to watch this hen come in, and she found the old doghouse, and she was moving the hay around inside of it. The dog didn't use it, she was. And she was moving the hay around and squawking and going around in circles and constantly squawking and then squatting down and pushing. And then she laid her egg, and it was interesting. I went over, and my grandson and I were there watching the whole process there, and I was videotaping. And I went over and picked up the egg, and it was all nice and hot and warm. And when a hen lays an egg and it goes through her body as it passes out, it puts on it what's called a bloom. And it's basically a coating over the calcium shell of the egg, because the egg has millions of teeny tiny little holes in it, and germs can get in there. And so each egg is coated with a bloom to protect it and seal it, so the little embryo baby chick inside can be safe. And it's only a baby chick if a male rooster has fertilized the egg. And many times they're not, so you just get hens that lay eggs that you get to use for your breakfast every morning. There we go, we got our little fish. And now I want to add some of these, and let's see if we can get this glue to come out. I'll lay it down and use a pin just to apply it to each of the little bubbles. And these are round shapes, so I do need a bit more, and I'm not putting one on each of these. And I also use this so I don't want the holes, because each of these have a hole, and I don't want the whole side to be up. I don't want that to be visible. There we go. So my goal is one day to be able to have enough money so I can buy, I would love to have about 100 acres of land. Of course, I don't think that's ever going to happen. That would be my fantasy. But yeah, I want to buy some land and use the trees and the rocks and the clay and hay and grasses off that land to build my own cabin, an adobe style cabin, and use those materials also to build a rocket mass heater, which is a certain kind of an adobe stove that you can use to heat your whole home using minimal wood. I used to think that a wood fireplace was like the best way to heat a home, but actually a wood stove burns up a lot of wood to produce minimal heat. I mean, it does produce enough, and it can heat up a certain area, but it's generally limited, like a fireplace, to the area that is really close by. The rooms or areas further away don't get as heated up. But with the rocket mass heater, it burns about the 1/10 of the amount of the wood, and it does heat up more. What you do with a rocket mass heater is you build an adobe bench around the rocket mass heater, and the adobe bench has pipes that are running through it, and the pipes have the heat from the wood that's burning that travel through those pipes. So all that heat is heating up the adobe bench, and then the heat dissipates out of that bench into the area and dissipates throughout the whole home. which is really awesome. And let me get this out of there. So that is my dream one day, to be able to have my own home that I can build, physically build it with my own plans. And I would assuredly need some assistance. I don't imagine I'd be able to do all the building of it myself, but I would love to design and do a portion of the physical labor of building it. And I would also like to have a rocket mass heater in the shed that I would build for the animals, because when you have animals, especially goats, horses, calves, or cows, they even pigs, when it's time for them to have their babies, you want to be out there with them. And in the wintertime when it's all cold, oh my goodness, that is a tough spot to be in out there. I've done that with all the goats that we had that had their little baby kids, and freezing cold, you know, temperatures around 0 or so, and that's really cold. Even if you're in a barn or shed somewhere enclosed where it breaks the wind, it's still really, really cold. And so I would even put a rocket mass heater in there and just use it at the times when I knew that there'd be some little ones coming. And sometimes when you're having the little baby goats, you want to make sure that they're nice and warm, because if they do get too much of a chill, not able to warm themselves back up, they can die. And little baby goats are very susceptible. I didn't know how easily they could get sick and die. And same with the goats. And we've never really had any that had a problem when they were having their kids. So we would be there, but not so much to assist them, but just to be observant, because we just loved watching the whole process. It was just very fascinating for us. And we had up to 30 goats at a time for a while there. And then some of them got sick from different things that we didn't know about, being as we were new. And so we learned. And then we learned more about homeopathics and different things that we could use to help treat them. And the one thing that we learned about that was really awesome, because it's excellent for people, is this stuff called DE, which is diatomaceous earth. And the word diatomaceous has the words diatoms, and diatoms are the microscopic sea life in water. And diatoms, when they dry up, they are really good for people and animals to ingest it, because diatoms have sharp edges on them, and the sharp edges, when they're going down through your gut, they actually scrape your gut clean to get rid of gunk that is sitting in our gut, but it also kills bacteria. And we just learned a lot, you know, raising livestock, and understood more about eating healthy and knowing where your food comes from, knowing what your food eats. I mean, most of the food in the stores today are not what you think. You go out and you buy a bag of sugar, and you're sure you're getting sugar cane when in fact what you're getting is beet sugar. And beet is that red vegetable, that bright, burgundy red like vegetable. And they use that to get sugar. But the problem with the beets that they're using to give you your sugar is that it is genetically modified. It's GMO beets. And so it's not even like a natural, healthy, organic beet. And organic simply means natural, that it hasn't been altered. And so many of the foods that we eat and so many of the things that we ingest are not healthy for us. And we didn't know any of this stuff until we moved to Ohio and bought our house with the nearly 3 acres and started raising chickens and goats and some other livestock. And that's when we just really learned a lot about eating healthy, living healthy, getting back to nature. And I think I need one more right there. See, one more that doesn't have a little pearl. And I know it's overkill. I should have actually just, done a few here and a few there, but oh well. This is how it's turning out. It is what it is, so they say. But and one more. There we go. Alrighty. I think we're done. And then we just put the word bubbles on here. Let me get the tape. Let's see where we need to put this. I'm going to push it down really good, make sure it stays on there. This part is always the part that takes a while, is to get this off. Let me get my little hook. See if that'll help me. My little fish looks pitiful, doesn't he? Might even look like he's got an attitude. He looks a little angry with the face I gave him. I was just trying to quickly sketch out some of the lines that I saw on the stamp. I am by no means an artist. I cannot draw for anything. Okay. And I have so many bubbles, it's hard to know where to put the word bubbles. But I'm going to stick it right up in here. And that's my bubbles ATC. Nothing special, but just something different. Something I had fun with. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You have a lovely day. God bless you.